This is Howard Jacobson. Jacobson runs a pharmacy in Long Island, New York. A common drug Jacobson and other pharmacies sell is called Metformin, a cheap drug that's used for type 2 diabetes.
Type 2 adult onset diabetes?
The drug itself only cost Jacobson $1.61. If the patient paid in cash out of pocket for the drug, Jacobson would sell it to them for $4, earning him a respectable $2.39 in profits. The patient gets their medicine at a reasonable price, the pharmacy gets their cut, the drug maker gets their cut, and everyone is happy. But in this particular case, the patient paid with their insurance plan. All of a sudden, the patient had to pay $10.84 for the drug instead of $4, over double the price. And even with the higher price, Jacobson the pharmacist ends up making only $1.93 in profit instead of the $2.39 he would have made if the patient paid cash. Higher cost for the patient, lower profit for the pharmacy. And the rest of the money? That whopping $7.30 goes to the insurance company and their middlemen. And you want to know what the best part is? It's that Jacobson's customer didn't even know he was getting played. Now, following common sense, Jacobson should just tell his customers to pay cash to avoid getting scammed by their insurance company in these situations. But until recently, he couldn't, because he was under contract with these insurance companies and their middlemen to not let customers in on the secret unless they asked.
You could have sold it to them for $4. Instead, They paid a $10.84 copay.
Right.
But until recently, Jacobson couldn't bring this up unless the customer asked. He says that's because many of his contracts with the PBMs contain provisions that prohibited him from pointing out that they could get their prescription cheaper if they didn't go through their insurance plan. Pharmacists call them gag clauses.
Now at this scale, paying $10 versus $4 is not that big of a deal for most people. But when you get to drugs for terminal diseases or rare diseases, where this amount of drugs would cost US consumers around $3 million, these markups can start getting rather deadly.
The sticker price for Revlimid has more than doubled in the last decade. Today, a single month's supply of 28 pills can cost as much as $22,000.
If this isn't making much sense to you, good. That's because it shouldn't. That is the beauty of the wonderful industry that is Big Pharma. A very lucrative racket. Now it's not so lucrative for the patients or the pharmacies or even the drug makers at times, who people usually like to point the finger at. No, the real winners in this racket are the insurance companies and their middlemen. And just like any racket, to understand how it works, we have to follow the money. To understand the ruse we just witnessed here, we have to learn a little bit about the supply chain of Big Pharma. Now typically, supply chains for your average products are pretty simple. Manufacturers sell their products to retailers, consumers buy those products from retailers at a higher price. That way, retailers make some profit to keep for themselves, and they get to buy more products from the manufacturers. The Big Pharma supply chain is a little bit more complicated. Okay, it's a lot more complicated. And it all starts with the drug companies. Big pharma companies spend billions to develop drugs and to try to get them to pass the FDA, with the average cost to bring a drug to market being anywhere from $1 billion to $2.6 billion. Then they have places like China or India produce these drugs for dirt cheap. And from there, they set the list price for the drug, the raw price if you bought it straight from the manufacturer.
But I think it's important that people understand that the chemicals themselves cost almost nothing.
And this is the first reason why drugs can get so expensive. The FDA has a ton of regulations, drug companies need to make a profit in order to incentivize them to keep making drugs.
I think profits are a great thing to sustain your corporate existence.
But not only that, they have to recoup the cost of their research and to fund more research for more drugs. No matter what the demand for a drug is, it still costs billions to make. So if companies spend billions to make a life-saving drug that only a few thousand people need per year, the cost of that single pill is going to go dramatically up.
Imagine for a moment popping a pill before bed that costs about $13.50. Now imagine waking up the next morning to find that the price of the exact same pill jumped to $750 overnight. That is just what happened to one drug.
Turing is a very small company, it's a new company, and we're not a profitable company. So for us to try to exist and maintain a profit, I think is pretty reasonable.
Can drug companies price gouge for the sake of making a quick buck on the most desperate of people? Of course. Do they intentionally do this? Probably. But they are doing all of the work, so it's a little bit more understandable. But if we stopped here, it still wouldn't give us a clear picture. So let's move on to the next step in the supply chain. From there, wholesalers transport the drugs and sell them to pharmacies. This is where the patient comes in. The patient gets prescribed medication from their doctor, the patient then goes to the pharmacy to get their meds. However, most patients have health insurance to save money on big medical expenses, and most use their insurance to pay for their meds. Because in their mind, they think that by using insurance, they're automatically going to save more money. So the patient pays for a portion of the meds to their pharmacy, which is called their copay or out-of-pocket cost. And for the remainder of the cost, the pharmacy sends a bill to their insurance company. The patient feels as if they're getting their money's worth from their insurance, keyword feels, but this is where things get messy. Just like any business, insurance companies are in the business of making money, not giving away free charity. Nothing wrong with that, but in this case, it creates a perverse incentive. Patients pay their monthly bill for insurance, and when medical bills arise, in a perfect world, the patient would pay the entire bill themselves and the insurance companies would just sit back and collect that monthly bill. But this isn't a perfect world, and if you, the insurance company, don't make the patient feel as if you're covering the majority of their medical costs, what is the point of them being your customer? But the more of their medical bills you cover, the less profit you make. So we have to recoup that money somewhere. Enter rebates. If we have to keep our insurance customers happy by covering a higher percentage of their costs, why not go to the drug makers and say, hey, all your customers depend on us, the insurance companies, for them to be able to afford your products. Or in other words, we're the gatekeepers to your customers. So if you want us to cover more of the cost of your drugs so patients can actually buy your drugs, you better give us some money in return, with the underlying message being, bribe us. And that's what the drug companies are forced to do. For nearly every drug patients buy at the pharmacy counter with their insurance, the drug company pays a commission back to the insurance company. Of course, we don't call it a commission or a bribe because the public would be outraged, just like how we don't call stimulus checks welfare. No, we call these commissions rebates.
Another issue that we've been hearing a lot about, that the president has even been talking about, is something called rebates. That sounds like a good thing.
So it certainly does sound like a good thing. Rebate is money back. It could lower price for the consumers. The problem is that in this opaque world where we have no idea what these contracts say, rebates actually can increase price.
And the people responsible for negotiating how big of a rebate the insurance companies get, that responsibility falls onto the broker. Brokers are those middlemen that negotiate with drug makers to get as much money back to the insurance companies as possible. Since the insurance companies want to incentivize those brokers to get as much money back as possible, it's safe to assume that these brokers pocket a cut of every rebates. Now if you're wondering, do they really just flat out call these people brokers? Now you're catching on to the game. Of course they don't. These brokers go by the very inconspicuous title of pharmacy benefit managers, or PBMs.
For many of the drugs a pharmaceutical company sells, it pays a rebate to the PBM. The PBM sometimes pockets a portion of the rebate and passes another portion on to the insurance company or employer.
And to squeeze even more money out of drug makers, we, the insurance companies, have one more trick up our sleeves. Humans work off of incentives. So if you want bigger rebates from drug companies, give them an incentive to do that. So if you give us a bigger rebate, we'll cover a bigger portion of the cost of the drug to our patients. If we cover, say, 90% of the cost of your drug, the product is going to be perceived to be cheaper in the eyes of our patients. So you're probably going to get more sales. This is what's called moving up the formulary.
The highest tier in the formulary is the lowest copay for the patient, and the lowest tier is the highest copay for the patient. When the pharmaceutical company pays a higher rebate, the PBM will move the drug up on the formulary.
Now there's nothing wrong with commissions or rebates or salespeople. But in this case, like we mentioned earlier, whether you agree with it or not, drug companies need to make a profit in order to stay in business and to keep innovating. And when they get squeezed from these rebates, what do? They raise the price of the drugs to make up for it.
Azar, a former pharmaceutical executive, also said he's heard reports of PBMs threatening drug makers.
We've had several drug companies come in who want to execute substantial material reductions in their drug prices. They're finding hurdles from pharmacy benefit managers and distributors where they might say, well, if you decrease your list price, I will take you off formulary compared to your competitor who will have a higher list price where I will make more money. I find that unconscionable.
And who takes a burden of that higher price? That's right, the patients. Let's take a look at a simple example. Let's say a drug costs $10 for a drug maker to churn out and they sell it for $100. To keep it simple, let's just assume that's also the price the pharmacy sells it for. So for the drug maker, the list price is $100, the cost is $10, so their profit is $90. The patient doesn't want to pay $100, so they use their insurance. The insurance company also wants to keep as much money as possible, so they have their PBM or broker negotiate a rebate of $50 from the drug maker. $10 of that $50 goes to the broker, and $40 of that rebate goes to the insurance company. The insurance company uses that $40 to cover $40 of the patient's $100 bill, so the patient pays only $60 out of pocket. So now the drug maker is only making $40 instead of $90 after the rebate of $50. A $40 profit happens to not be enough to recoup the research costs, fund new drugs, so the drug maker raises the list price by $50 to make up for the rebates. Now the drug maker is back to square one with a profit of $90. The list price went up to $150, the cost to manufacture the drug is still at $10, the rebate they pay subtracts another $50, so the profit is back up to $90. The insurance company is still only getting a $50 rebate even with the price hike. So when the patient returns for a refill, the price went up to $150, their insurance is still covering only $40 after paying $10 to their broker. Now they're left with a bill of $110. And what started out as patients not wanting to pay $100 out of pocket, those same patients end up paying a higher price for the exact same product if they would have just paid in cash.
By increasing the price of the drug, the manufacturer has more leeway to give a big rebate to the PBM. The PBM is happy, the drug is covered on the formulary. Unfortunately for all of us, drug prices go up.
And the best part? They're saying to themselves, hey, my insurance company is paying a portion of this drug for me. I'm saving money. And no one is the wiser. Now it's easy to blame drug companies, it's easy to blame insurance companies and their pharmacy benefit managers like we've been doing this entire video. But this is just what happens when the customer is taken out of the buying process. Let's say you go to dinner with a few friends. One night you guys get separate checks. Whatever you order, you pay for. On a separate night, you guys split the check evenly. In which case do you think you guys will order more? This is the very same test college economics departments like to run. And without fail, when you split the check evenly, everyone orders more. After all, why not? Why not an extra glass of wine? Why not an extra appetizer? You're only paying for a fraction of the cost. The result? Everyone gets stuck with a higher bill. Welcome to healthcare. When your insurance covers 85% of your bill, you don't care how much things cost, you don't shop around to see who offers the cheapest blood tests, the cheapest MRI scan, the cheapest drugs. We consume without thinking because someone else pays. By insuring so much of our healthcare, we ensure that we are blind to the cost of the very thing we were trying to save money on. Mix in the other incentives of drug companies, insurance companies, and middlemen like we talked about, and the price for things like big pharma drugs and everything else skyrockets. So what's the solution to solve this mess? I have no idea. What I do know is that the best way to protect yourself from things like rising healthcare prices, shady insurance companies, is to simply make more money. Finish this phrase for me. Money is the root of all... what? That's right, evil. That is how a lot of people view money, yet money solves a lot of problems in life, including ever-increasing cost of living, so you shouldn't feel ashamed to go after it. And one of the more realistic routes to go about making more money? Getting a remote job. Think about it, you're not limited by the jobs you have around your area, you don't have to start a business from scratch. Companies have now started taking remote jobs a lot more seriously. You learn a valuable skill that you can take with you for the rest of your life, coding, digital marketing, or what have you, and you can use it as a jumping off point to do whatever you want, saving up for emergencies like 2020, traveling the world as a digital nomad, or starting a business. The last point is exactly what I did. I landed a $40 per hour remote web dev job when I was 19, which gave me the time and money to do what I'm doing right now. So if you want to get a remote job, check out a course I offer where I break down everything. What kind of remote job you should go after, how to best learn it, resumes, applying, interviews, the whole 9 yards. Take Alex for example. His digital marketing business had to close because 2020, so he used the course to land a $25 remote digital marketing job in just 19 days.
And what is more is that I live in South Africa. And the nice thing about living in South Africa with an American job is that I get paid in dollars, and dollars have a lot of buying power in South Africa. $25 an hour for me here would be the same as $75 an hour for the average American.
Albeit he was already skilled in digital marketing, but you get the point. Are you guaranteed to land a remote job with this program? No, you still have to work your butt off like me and everyone else, but what you do get is a very solid foundation that I wish I would have had. So click the link below and sign up today for a very reasonable price while also supporting videos like this at the same time. Big Pharma was by far one of the most requested hit lists that I should get on when I asked you guys what hit list I should get on next on Instagram, so here we are. If you guys want more Big Pharma videos, just let me know in the comments below as always, because this definitely barely scratched the surface on the Big Pharma industry. If you guys want to participate in this sort of thing in the future, you can follow me on Instagram at jaketrend.io, and you will play a direct role in helping me not be a pleb anymore by getting me up to 10k followers. If you are new to this channel and you're not subscribed, what are you doing? Because we make video essays just like this one every single week for absolutely free, and all you have to do is click that subscribe button and turn on that notification bell. And if you want email notifications, just in case like something were to ever happen to this channel, you can sign up for email notifications for when new videos come out with the link in the video description. But that is gonna wrap it up for this video. Thank you so much for watching. You've been awesome. I've been Jake. Stay dangerous out there. I'll see you guys in the next one.
Absolutely.